Okay, so right out the gate, what is the scene that made you laugh the most in real time?
When we were making it?
Yeah.
Um, well, dude, the berry patch scene, I was cackling like a madman watching my Nathan, that co-directed and played the alpha Sasquatch. Eating the berries was just so ludicrous. And then the other scene that made me laugh the most, like it was when they were fishing and Riley was raising a fish above her head, doing this primal scream that I was just in heaven watching.
One of my questions is a comment, and it's just Riley with the fish. Okay, well, what moved you the most in real time?
Well, probably the scene where the baby isn't waking up. I think when we're doing that, I think when in making this, it was of equal importance. We knew there was going to be some more absurd moments that were broader, but we wanted to really balance it with with empathy and pathos, especially in the second half. It was I felt if we pulled punches on either end of the spectrum.
In the girl, huh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I felt like if we they each have their own chapter, kind of. Yeah. We felt like if we pulled punches one direction or the other, it would have kind of defeated the purpose of doing it in the first place. I think 'cause so much of this is about exploring the human condition. So, like with the baby scene, for instance, that was. I'd seen a primate documentary with a similar thing with a mother and chimp. It was just one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen, and so that just like that, that's where that came from. And then similarly with the log scene, we wanted to have that be kind of a slow burn, especially coming after the road scene, which is like the most ludicrous scene in the movie. Kind of what like where and then to kind of segue from that, this thing that seems kind of like it's going to be something banal at first and then becomes tragic in a way that just I don't know, everything can turn the dime in that world, in the natural world. So
Yeah, and that's actually I was thinking that you needed to have like the best actors that are on the earth right now to be in this movie because only their eyes are being seen, and that particular moment with Riley is like truly astounding because there's this stoicism and sort of like solitariness to the performance. It's not like desperately outward. And like we're all trying to be subtle all the time, but it just feels like reminding me of videos I've seen of like primates where they're like so emotive, but the faces aren't moving. It's the eye. It's all in the fucking eyes. And I'm just like it is so good.
Oh, that's a great point. Thank you. Yeah, like.
And then when Jesse is over the grave, he does something similar. It's sort of this staring off that suggests like a oneness that's so much more moving than like our kind of petty manipulations of each other. I want you to feel this thing right now. Like it's so good.
Yeah, it was something that it was a combination that's kind of what we planned going into it and then explored in making it. But through the process, a lot of it felt like, it's kind of like making a silent film in some ways because we didn't have the benefit of dialogue to push the exposition. And so we were like, okay, well, how else? We're telling the story through, after rely heavily on the visuals and the music, and then their physicality and then their eyes. And so when we were designing the creatures, I think a lot of times the creature design in films they'll use they have contacts or do VFX eyes over which can look cool in certain context. But for this it felt like there's something so emotive. We're getting so much information through their just the subtlest gestures and then there's something indescribable about eye contact where the subtlest movement and just as humans we know it communicates so much info, and so we always knew that we wanted them to be their actual eyes. And then Riley is so expressive. It has these huge blue soulful eyes that really pop out through the creature line. So that was we really wanted to push that to the fullest extent.
Yeah, they all do. They're really nice. Okay, so what about won't all seem like on a part of the same list, but like, what about what disturbed you most? Because I do think that you pushed everyone really far, and I wonder if they pushed you, like, you know, if you were like sort of encouraging them to find an edge, and then you're like, wait, like if they scared you, like if you were ever like,
no, I was
wait,
willing
that's
to go as
undisturbing.
far as
Yeah.
they wanted. I wanted to, I think it was.
No, but like less about like the like kind of crazy shit, but actually, like, you know, kind of the lore-based stuff. Yeah, like there's a shot of this guy Sasquatch lounging in these like leaves of grass, and he's kind of like the same color as the grass in this moment, and he just looks sort of like grown of the earth, and it comes right after the most disturbing moment in the movie for me, which is it's a subtle moment. It's not one of the like crazier things, like it's when he steals the eggs so casually, and it's like this horrible thing, this like representation of the reason we're all fucked, and it's just okay, and it because it's true, because it is what it fucking is. But then right after that, I think he's sort of like, there's this like thing where he looks like he's growing out of the earth, and it just sort of like made me feel we are fucking animals and plants, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like if he could learn how to count past 4, then they would be just as bad as us. Yeah.
Well, there's something so relatable about, because it just, the idea is humans, we want to control everything and categorize everything, and kind of like that by reaching some, you know, I don't know, the more we can quantify stuff, the more the universal makes sense and not be this, you know, chaotic thing that it is. And so there's something about this kind of like simplified version of that with, you know, as these creatures that kind of represent this kind of gray area between human and animal behavior. I mean, that was one of the things that interests most in general about Bigfoot, is the way it represents the intersection of human and animal behavior, and kind of human's connection to nature. And I don't know if that's what, because the myth of it has been around for centuries. I don't know, as human civilization developed, we kind of needed that represented this kind of connection that we lost, or what. But it's also where so much interesting, uncomfortable sort of things, subject matter comes from us, because I think we continually try to separate ourselves from the rest of the animal kingdom, and as though we're not animals. And so exploring, you know, there's things in this movie that you might see your dog do every day, and you wouldn't think anything of it, but then when it's this human-like figure doing similar things, it suddenly is uncomfortable, because you see yourself in it a little bit, and that was something that felt interesting to explore in the process.
Yeah, I heard that people were like, that it's kind of like a walkout movie a bit, like the people get a little squeamish and want to fuck off.
I heard some, I don't know, I think that might have been exaggerated a bit.
I don't think so, because I actually talked to someone who was like, I watched it, and I watched all these people getting up in front of me.
Oh, maybe so, I don't know, but yeah, I think, you know, but you guys all stayed, so.
Yeah. No, but I think it's not because it's like there's piss and shit and like, I don't know, a lot of milk and like
all the
pussy sniffing and you raging red boners. But I think it's because people like don't want to see themselves, and because I think the most ominous and scary part of the movie is definitely like I mean, obviously it's the X on the tree. Suddenly you go like, oh, maybe we're millennia away, but like it's a breath, because we are seeing all of the embarrassing stuff, the stuff that's like crude and kind of like overwhelmingly physical in a way that we can't deny we are. We're also a bunch of other things we can't deny, which is that big red X on the tree, and it's like the stealing of the eggs and all, you know what I mean, where you're like, yikes. Yeah, and I think that, I mean, maybe it's the pissing and the shitting and stuff that people wanted to walk out for, but I think it's because it's like, you know, I don't know, this is like, we're supposed to make movies to entertain people, and I was only, this was the most fun I've had watching a movie in so long.
Oh, thank you.
So I can't relate to the people that walked out. Anyway, we can just move on.
No, well, I think, you know, it's, to that point, it was interesting. I mean, those are all, like you said, you know, all those extreme things are things that, you know, we see,
every day.
Every day. And it's just so, I mean, it's things that we would never do if it was a movie about humans, but kind of exploring the human condition through these things that are both human and not. It felt like such an interesting entry point to kind of explore all the more uncomfortable aspects of the human condition, you know.
Yeah. Excuse me. Hearing Riley's voice, I got so nervous when she was bending over, and I was like, oh man, this movie's clearly going there. Is it gonna go all the way to the worst place? And then she was like, and she was like, her volition was so overwhelming. She's like, no, the answer is no. And that was the first time I really heard Riley's like voice.
Oh yeah.
So satisfying for anyone that's like, I don't know, like to read movies or I happen to know her, but I would know her if I'd never met her. She's so present. Like these people, Jesse and Riley are so, they blow me away in this movie. I think it's two of their best performances.
Oh, thank you. It was such a joy working with them, and I think what I love about them both is they're both great with comedy and drama, and they're both really adventurous with they're just fearless with their choices, and then they're also just so present, especially Riley, just in the moment, she's so there, and everything we were trying to do was to kind of take these mythical creatures and give them legitimacy and make you relate to them as living creatures, and then relate to them on to a certain degree on a human level as well. And so we wanted to have a sincerity to the performances. It's also why we didn't want to do like motion capture or something, and wanted to have these tactile creature costumes. And also why we shot on location in redwood forests in Humboldt County, Northern California. You don't usually take creature costumes in remote woods. It's a pain in the ass. You usually do it on sound stages in very controlled environments with controlled lighting, and I don't know, we tend to like pick the we tend to pick the hardest way to do things, and for I don't know, I wish we didn't sometimes, but but yeah, doing creatures in natural light in the redwoods was a pain, but
Did you shoot on film?
No.
It really looks like you
Oh,
did.
that's good. We just had a great retweet.
Really hard.
Yeah, we did. We wanted to have like a 70s kind of nature documentary, kind of feel like Magic Hour, kind of gritty feel, and but it just helped all those things, and with real animals and everything, so just everything to kind of like ground it in a certain naturalism so you buy into their world.
The edit is so funny. You didn't shoot on 35. It's
So trippy, like the bucolic pastoral sort of like reverential imagery mixed with this totally childish body humor. It's not petulant, it is hilarious, but it is like incredibly profound, and I do really admire the movie that you made. That's a comment, not a question. Yeah, it's really funny, that's boring. Do raspberries make you very horny?
I don't know. That's another. So much of the film. So many things in the movie it took from nature videos or videos we saw on YouTube of animal behavior, and then things I saw my pets do. But there's like a ton of videos online of like bears that eat berries that are fermented and get drunk, and so it just totally ripped that off basically. Yeah. Oh
my God!
That was Riley just riffing. It's just so funny that somehow putting your arm above your head like that, it telegraphs this. Something that is instantly hilarious and ridiculous, but yeah.
You're so human. You're
so
like,
human,
yeah. Okay, 5 minutes. Let me see. The music's great. Riley with the fish. The snake kiss. Oh my God, this made me cry.
Oh,
I love him.
it was like
so
the innocence of the child wanting to be friends with nature. And. I think with that most of the animals we just cast based on doing what they wanted to do, which was just eat food. But then the porcupine, the person had to say, well, by the way, if you want the porcupine to wave, the porcupine likes to wave. And so then
Pet wrangler.
Yeah.
Honestly, collaborate the most with your pet
Yeah.
wranglers. That's my
And
advice
so-
to any
so-
fledgling filmmakers out there.
Exactly, yeah. And so much of it is a mix of preparedness and then adaptability. So it was like, okay, the porcupine likes to wave, and then you work that in the script, and it's a nice little moment.
I mean, yeah, especially do you try to capture nature and not be like Terrence, to do it in a way that doesn't feel like everyone just got so excited that the spider walked into the frame. It never feels like that in this at all.
That's good.
It's not. Yeah, it's like when he passes away and then the moments with him and the butterflies after. It's like his curiosity and his kind of like, it just didn't, he got really unlucky. That's a good thing. Those are really beautiful qualities that could only lead to positivity in the stories we tell ourselves, but that's not fucking life. And you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's so good, dude.
Thank you.
Question. We have like 2 more minutes, so I think maybe I guess what I want to say is, okay, one thing and then a question. The loss of the film, I just want to say, like, the way it is expressed, it feels like it underlines our own like performative nonsense, and I think these performances are legendary. The eyeballs. And then the question that I have for you is, I heard it was a short before it was a movie, and I wonder, like, because I didn't watch it, while I was watching the movie, I was like, so definitely the things that I would make a Sasquatch do in a short film version of this, because you could make volumes of this. I want to watch Sasquatches do tons of shit. But, like, the stealing of the eggs. But what was in the short film? Like, what did they do? What wasn't in there? What was in there? What was the first thing you wanted to see them do?
The short film was called Sasquatch Birth Journal 2, and it was, and there's no, it's not a sequel. We just thought it was, but we, it all started from, you know, anytime you look up Bigfoot footage online, it's always the same thing, that Bigfoot's just walking back and forth, you know, and or lurking. It started as a joke of like, well, what else is doing everything that every other animal does, but somehow all the footage they have is only, you know, they're just walking around, and so we just, so it's like a 3-minute film of just the Sasquatch giving birth. And it's not, this is a much higher production value thing. It looks like surveillance. Intentionally it looks like surveillance video. It's much crude, but the short did really well. And then, so, I don't know, then it started as a joke of like expanding this into a feature. But then just the more we thought about it, the more interested we were in like what else is going on in their world, and how we could, you know, explore different aspects of the human condition, you know, through that.
Is there anything that you took out that you were like, I mean, I'm sure there's like a bunch of shit you took out, but is there anything you sort of pointedly took out?
No, nothing that mattered. Yeah, it was we kept all the relevant stuff. Yeah.
Did you guys want to ask him anything?
Well, yeah, any questions?
Is there any dialogue in the screenplay?
Oh, that's a good question. No, the screenplay, you know, for a film like this, there wasn't an easy comp for it, so we, and so which makes it really, you know, really hard to raise money for, and because you can't reference some, you know, a particular genre or something. So, because there's a lot of like Bigfoot movies made that are either like, you know, children's films or horror films, and so we had much of the conversation was explaining to people, financiers, that that's neither of those, and it's.
Have you seen Barbie?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
a mix, Barbie and Incredible Journey. But it was and doing it. We always knew from the start we wanted to do it from the perspective of the Sasquatches, and so with the script, there's no dialogue in it, and so it's short. It's 60 pages long. It's shorter than a regular script, you know. But it doesn't say like grunt 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 whenever they talk. But we try to make it as clear as possible, like the beats and what's going on in their interior lives. Just you know, without the benefit of the dialogue to move it, just make it very clear what the tone was. Also because there's a mix of humorous spots and poignancy. Making it crystal clear what the tone is. And that was essential for the financier, but then obviously for the cast and everyone. And the nice thing about that having the script so clear in that way, then once we got everyone on board, you know, everyone was dialed in. There's no, for a weird movie like this, it was the least amount of like conversation we've had to do about like, why are you doing this, whatever. Like everyone was dialed in, and it was one of the most fun shoots we've ever had for that reason. It was, it depended on how efficient everything was in the day. It was a couple hours for the face, and then I don't know, a little longer for the body, and then another hour and a half to get out or something at the end of the day. But it was, you know, it was we had a tight schedule, and it was, when you're shooting in the wilderness like that, it just, I don't know, we had to make every second count once we were on set because of all the prep time with that. Back there.
I have a two-part question. Could you share a little bit more detail from short film to finding financiers, getting into a feature? And then second part, as a board artist, I'm curious if you approach this storyboarding, since there wasn't dialogue, how with your exposition and things like that.
Well, the story, we both, the script was very visual, and so it kind of laid out the shots through there, and then but in certain parts we storyboarded, like the river scene, which was incredibly difficult, we storyboarded that, and a few others like that where it was more technical. I mean, no, this is like an impossible film to find. And I give a lot of credit. Jesse Eisenberg was the first one to get on board, and not only as an actor but as a producer, and he was like part of the financing, which is like a terrible investment, but it was so kind of him, and that really.
Like he financed some.
I know.
I just underlined that for
He's
everyone.
an incredible human. It was but he just wanted to see it get made, and that really helped kick it off. And then once that helped legitimize it, get it off the ground, and then we put it together from there. So, sweet.
Yeah, I think
It's up to you because this is your thing.
Okay, we can take one last one. I'll let you pick.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up?
So I'm a big fan of your work for the curse as well.
Thanks.
I was curious if your work on the curse inspired anything Sasquatch Sunset, or vice versa if you work on Sasquatch Sunset first.
We did Curse first, but no, I mean this film had been living for so long, so we just no, we love the tone, the uncomfortable humor in that. But yeah, I don't know, this film had been living with us for a long time. I think the only reason we got it made was we were obsessed with it, kind of willed it into existence, and kept circling back when financing would fall through over and over again. All right.
That will give us the last.
How do you feel?
I really love this movie. I don't have a question about the movie. Not that there wasn't a movie, but just like more movie. And then we'll leave. Yeah.
You said a little about how the cast was like very dialed in. I'm curious, like how they were in between scenes, wearing these costumes. When you said cut, would they just go right back to like talking like humans, or
Yeah.
were some of them a little more method? Like
No method. This is too method. It never was too cool to not. No, once we would, like for instance, like the fish scene, like, 1 second Riley's holding a fish above her head doing this primal scream that is like one of my favorite things we've ever done. And then we cut and she's laughing hysterically. The second we cut, everyone's laughing. The behind the scenes footage is just everyone hanging out laughing. Seeing them hang, they couldn't eat really through, they had a lot of these children's sippy cups that they had to eat, so it was a lot of them just hanging out doing that, and the rehearsal and all this was but everything about it was was fun, and their only character when they're rolling. So.
And how much was in order, because there were no it wasn't super location dependent, it was like in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So because at some point the movie became so lonely, and when it's just Riley trudging around with the kid, it's just sort of did it become, how was it in order?
No, we had to.
So it wasn't like a sad period where it's like,
No, it was hoppy. It was completely out of order, just because based on even though it's all in the woods, we had to get pretty specific. Like some of it was in like state and national park land, some in private land, and then also adapting for the weather, because we shot it all in one stretch, but to try to simulate 4 seasons, it was like work around. Trying to time out around with this one area that there was snowfall and that sort of thing. So it was a combination of preparedness and adaptability.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll go.
all right.
I think everyone else should go home too.
All right. And thank you so much for coming out, and thank you for listening.